After the review, if it has not already, most of the talking shifts to the educator. As a coach, your role is to facilitate and guide. The goal is for the educator to identify their own strengths from the data and their own areas of growth. If the educator struggles to make identifications, refer them to the data paired with guiding or clarifying questions. This portion is used to help provide motivation and help create a focus for the future. Relying on notes can help, especially if the note is an observation of an action rather than an assessment of a decision. Again, building rapport and trust can give more leeway in how questions are asked, posed, and how much guiding is needed without disregarding their own capabilities. When there is a lack of established trust, being told you are doing something wrong may negatively impact the rest of the session or even the relationship.
An opportunity to build trust in the relationship comes while discussing strengths displayed during the lesson. When authentically identifying the educator's strengths, it can clarify a few things: active effort to support someone, acknowledgement of their positive impact at some level on students, dispel or lessen any notion that the focus is negative. When someone is learning a new skill, being able to build upon identified strengths as a foundation for the learning process could lead to improved engagement and retention of information. Consider the andragogy principle of adult learner experience and how it can be applied to the discussion about the educator's strengths during the lesson. Areas of growth are critical for the coaching process, almost like the fuel in an engine. The coaching process is powered by the growth mindset, and the rest of the session conversation revolves around the identified areas. Identifying the most critical and impactful areas is important. Remember, the coach is the facilitator, so prepare questions and notes that can help in identifying 1 to 2 growth points. With too many growth points, a manageable hill becomes a formidable mountain. How then are the most impactful areas identified? First, ensure that all relevant data have been looked at and considered. Then, use follow-up questions that help the educator consider the implications of doing something versus doing nothing in response to the data. When someone misidentifies a need or is not choosing an area for growth that will impact enough students, then the coach may need to decide if the area the educator wants to focus on will not impact students at all, or if by ignoring an area of need, students will be negatively impacted. As a coach increases their experience, the ability to facilitate during a review and ask impactful questions can improve, so that the educators they support are able to become their own masters of their domain.
Use the additional notes section to include some non-judgmental information gleaned from the lesson that meets these criteria on the screen. Remember, the educator reads and receives this form. Avoid having anything on the form that is not reviewed or pertinent. The reason for this is when asking an educator to focus on too many different areas to improve, the efforts can be unfocused, which could negatively impact outcomes. These are the reasons to include information in this section. It's pertinent to the previous goal, adds context to the strengths and/or areas of growth, impacts student safety, the emotional, physical, or educational. Fidelity was met and needs to make additional considerations to develop new action steps.
Let's look at some sample additional notes that were seen in past coaching sessions. Could a visual support help keep track of the process and help minimize the impact of classroom distractions for educators? After lead of the read-along line, can some students have opportunities to read the sentence to the group independently? Without the scope and sequence of the lesson, fewer response opportunities were presented than in prior lessons that had a scope and sequence. Was error correction not provided due to internet lag in the virtual classroom, or was it a missed opportunity?